Good morning and welcome to Warrior Wednesday, Warrior Wisdom Wednesday on Coffee with Alain. Drinking out of a wisdom cup today for some warrior wisdom. And we're going to look at some warrior wisdom from the Bruce Lee Way. Book by Tim Baker, forward by Shannon Lee, shares some wisdom from Bruce Lee, which I'm going to share with you today. One of his most famous quotes, "Be like water." A little bit about that. Want to thank everybody who watches, comments, watches replays, listens to the podcast. You're all very important to me. Also want to thank those that are signing up for the newsletter. If you haven't signed up yet, it's free. Go to enjoylifesafely.com, download one or both of the free ebooks that you can get there. Information to help you stay safe, keep your family safe. Then you'll also get the newsletter. More tips on staying safe, defending yourself, enjoying life, and being exceptional. Every once in a while, a little bit of stuff on the warrior's edge, like today's Warrior Wisdom from Bruce Lee. So let's talk a little bit about Bruce Lee and Be Like Water from this nice book here. Be like water. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, and it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. These sentences, perhaps the most famous of Bruce Lee's philosophical musings, are at once simple and all-encompassing. One only needs to watch him calmly move through a gauntlet of a dozen opponents to know the words represent exactly how he hoped to move through life. The words are so much a part of Bruce's legend that it's easy to forget they were learned as part of a long and frustrating process, beginning with his first kung fu lessons. Studying with the famous Yip Man in Hong Kong, Bruce first heard about the mental side of martial arts when his teacher told him, "It's not just about punching and kicking. You need to flow with your opponent." But the esoteric lessons of martial arts had not yet penetrated. Eventually, Yip Man had enough and told Bruce to go home for a week and think about what he'd been told over and over. Frustrated, Bruce took a boat into the harbor. With his hand trailing behind him, gazing at the surface of the water, he grew frustrated with his inability to take Yip Man's teaching to heart, until finally he flailed out and struck the water violently with his fist. This physical exhalation of frustration proved revelatory. When he lashed out at the water's surface, it naturally moved out of his way, consuming the blow and shifting around it. Trying to grab at the water and watching as it flowed through his fingers and back into the sea, Bruce realized water, though soft and supple, also carried with it great force. Water was the embodiment of the philosophy Yip Man had been espousing, both receptive and strong, smoothly moving, and hard striking. Good little bit of wisdom there, right? Water is actually one of the main three philosophies and traits of Hapkido. And we studied water principle. There's a lot to it. It's very simple, but it can be very complex depending on how you go and how you're looking at it. Just like Bruce said there, it can be soft, it can be hard, it can flow. You know, you're doing a joint lock and your opponent does a counter. You flow like water. You know, water hits something that stops it, it flows and moves around. That's how a joint lock. You counter, it stops the joint lock, you flow into something else. And that's why we do joint lock flow drills. It's not that you're going to take somebody, a bad guy or whatever, I'm taking him out of a bar, and I'm going to go from lock to lock to lock to lock to lock to lock as I take him out to make it seem like I'm awesome and make the audience in the bar go, ooh. No, it's you use the lock, you take him out. But while you're going for the lock, if something happens that defeats that lock or counters that lock, you flow into something else so you can achieve what you need to do. And that's why we do the lock flow drills, so you learn to flow and you learn to feel the counters and so forth, just like you feel the water. Water can be soft, it can be hard. Okay. You know, the water, Chinese water torture, right? Just dripping a drop of water onto the forehead. You know, one drop of water, big deal, but repetitive, over and over and over. You know, it's an effective torture. You know, we look at things that have been carved by water, the repetitiveness of the water hitting and hitting and hitting and then carving through stone and making channels and making canyons. Look at that in combat. It's not just one strike. It's hit, 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 you know, until the threat is stopped. So there's a lot of things you can look at besides just, you know, what, you know, Bruce was talking about in this book, but you can apply that to your martial art training and you can apply it to other things. So often when something seems simple, and sometimes it is, it can be applied to even more. And so we want to look at some of that. I want to say good morning to a bunch of folks. Jay and Vicky are here. Good morning. Appreciate you guys showing up and saying hello. Tobacco Row, good morning. Appreciate you being here. Kellen's here and said good morning. Thank you, Kellen. Good morning to you. Appreciate you being here. Thad is here, said good morning. Thank you, Thad. Good morning to you. Dixon's here. Good morning, Dixon. Dixon said, I would argue that it's fluidity and not actually water, but you saved yourself by adding principle. All right. Thank you, Dixon. And he's talking about Hapkido, so that's good. Jay says, Karate Kid 2 in the blocks. Yes. So there's examples everywhere. And martial arts, a great example, obviously Bruce Lee being one of the most influential martial artists in the last 50, 60 years, you know, in this period that most of us have lived through. Was he the greatest martial art? We don't know. He had extreme charisma. He trained super hard. He studied super hard. He was super influential. It's sad that he died so early and couldn't go on to do more, because I'm sure he would have done great things. And so I was influenced by him, and just about every other martial artist around was influenced by him. And he's still making the covers of magazines today. And that's why I think, you know, looking at books such as this, and there's a whole bunch of them, I got lots of them on my shelf, can make us better by learning a little bit from him. And he studied a lot, and then he used that philosophy and tried to incorporate it into his own life and share it with others. And so, good place to study from, good place to learn for all of us to improve. So think about being like water, how that can make you better, whether you're a martial artist or something else in your life. Sign up for the newsletter at enjoylifesafely.com and make it a wonderful Warrior Wisdom Wednesday. And I'll see you tomorrow. And then on Friday, I'll see you with a special guest, Dan Anderson. All you martial artists won't want to miss the interview with Dan on Friday. So that's going to be a special one on Friday too. So we will see you tomorrow. Make it a wonderful Warrior Wisdom Wednesday.